Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Slant 3D podcast, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to talk about all the updates for Thanksgiving and Black Friday and everything else that is going on, and then discussing a little bit about why Bambu might be a $10 billion company, and finishing it all off with just some general updates as we normally do. But before all that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by Teleport. If you are running an Etsy store this Christmas and you are running through the Black Friday backlog and are not able to get orders out fast enough, or you are international and are not able to ship across the ocean, you're losing sales. So you might want to plug in Teleport in order to print and ship orders right for you, right to your customer here inside the USA. You're able to plug 1,000 extra machines into your business without having to lift a finger. All you do is connect Teleport into your Etsy store, match up the files that you want to have printed, and then whenever you get an order, the item will be printed and shipped straight to your customer for you. So go ahead and check out Teleport over at slantpod.com. That's slantpod.com. Alrighty, guys. Moving into the news. And the news is a little bit weird this week because the news, historically, is news. This week, the news is two primary rumors, which are very, very significant if they even happen to be a little bit true. The first, both of these, by the way, coming from Fabaloo, because Fabaloo reads the Chinese trades. Carrie did a great reporting on this stuff. But DJI makes huge investment in Elegoo. So, DJI, drone maker, you might have heard of them. Not allowed to sell drones inside the United States as of here in a month or so, by the way. They have 14,000 employees and revenues close to $4 billion and a valuation of about $15 billion. They're rumored to be investing somewhere between $25 and $75 million into Elegoo. And DJI has only termed the deal as aligned and has growth potential, so it's plausible they may get more deeply involved than just being a quiet investor. This possibly could include access to distribution channels, synergy with manufacturing brand, blah, blah, blah. For those who don't know, the founders of Bambu came from DJI. They led divisions at DJI. And it is interesting that the whole... Wait. Are we live? Yes, we're live. Okay, we're good. It is interesting that there are no primary... Hold on, wait, I'm checking. Okay, sorry. I'm going crazy over here. Something was off. I gotta deal with this. Something's off with the live stream. Okay. This is terrible for an audio product. But, so the Bambu founders left DJI, but now DJI is not investing in Bambu, they are investing in a competitor. And not a competitor like Reality, Elegoo. This is interesting. Elegoo has the Centauri Carbon, that's interesting. But they're propping up a competitor. That's weird. That's very weird. And there's all kinds of weird things that can happen from all this stuff. But like the big thing I want to like call out is it's a big deal because this is the valuations of these companies is inflating quickly, and $25 to $75 million invested is a big legitimization. However, the next piece of news, the next piece of scuttlebutt is rumored investment could position Bambu Lab as world's largest 3D printer manufacturer. It is rumored that Tencent is trying to do an investment in Bambu that would value Bambu at about $10 billion. Both of them have denied it, because they would. But Bambu is kind of due for another funding round. Here's what's interesting, though. Bambu has annual revenue last year close to $840 million and a profit of $280 million. I'm not sure if I trust the profit number, but I do. Like, it makes sense. I agree with it, but also I don't agree with it. That's a lot for how fast Bambu is growing and the methodologies they've used to grow to that level. So I am concerned about that. But if they're earning $280 million of profit, why would they do a fundraising round? Tencent is useful and valuable, and Bambu has been using Tencent's cloud infrastructure to run MakerWorld and their AI-generated stuff. And Tencent, wanting to stay in AI, will want access to 3D models for training data. That all being said, Bambu being valued at $10 billion makes them more valuable than basically all 3D printing companies combined right now. That's the big deal. You can look at this like, oh, Bambu's so huge, but no. Here's the thing. If Bambu closes that funding round, even Elegoo closing this funding round, and Creality going public, Bambu raising at that valuation will be such a watershed for the rest of the industry. It is bananas. That will be, oh, investors care about this and there's real money in 3D printing. 3D printing will resurge so quickly as a major investable category that it will start to get very interesting. Now, my own thoughts about like the validity of Bambu growing like that. I don't know what Bambu would do. Bambu can continue making machines, and most certainly they are not fully consumer enough yet. And the international trade things and everything else are a problem, but they can keep on building thousands to millions of these machines for production and all the rest of it. So that's all fine. But it is fascinating to see this happening because there is this legitimizes the industry because we've been in this slump where for the last 10 years, since like 2015 at the investment peak, we've been down in the valley of despair, and coming out of that to where, oh, 3D printing is useful. It's being applied to stuff. It's been useful and applied to stuff from the start, but you have all the charlatans and the talkers and everything else for a while. But if this investment closes, the whole industry gets legitimization again at a very profitable level. Like Bambu makes consumer electronics and they're maintaining a better than 25, like a 30% margin, net profit margin. Now, oh, that's probably what it is. They're probably calling it an EBITDA profit rather than an actual net profit, because I'll bet they're not net profitable. But on a unit basis, they're probably profitable. But no, this is just like a really, really big deal, guys, because it just legitimizes the entire industry so much. I hope that investment is true. Now, simultaneously, from our company here at Slant 3D, we build large print farms and everything else. And we've made the decision to basically stay away from Bambu because Bambu is a really dangerous company to be operating with as an ecosystem partner on the scale that we work with. They'll change the machines, they'll do a software update, whatever it was, to where they can hurt your machines or you lose your designs, all the things. So it's just dangerous in that regard to build large print farms around this, but large print farms are going to be built. And it's just a tremendous opportunity and great time to be in the industry. Simultaneously, you have things in the full legitimization of the industry. We have these big kind of watershed moments. Like I would consider like the Wiglets deal with Target a pretty big watershed moment. There have been 3D printed stuff in retail before, but nothing that prominent to where an end cap in a Target store has 3D printed objects inside of it. So congratulations for Wiglets for that. And I love Wiglets because they're not part of the 3D printing industry. They're fully separate. They just did their thing, used 3D printing to create these toys, and ran with it. And that was so fantastic. But yeah, it's very exciting because this all means that the industry as a whole is going to get a lot bigger. Because if one company is bigger than the entire industry, that means the entire industry has something to grow into, and there's an expectation for us all to grow into it. So it's very, very exciting. This is so valuable to everything that's being done. But anyhow, that's the news for this week because it's just really exciting. Excuse me. Alrighty. Updates. OpenAI updates to stuff inside of the company here. Okay. First of all, the 3D printing, our API that plugs into our print store farm, if you're a developer, we pushed an updated call on it. We did some updates to the calls of it this last week. One of the big ones was we added in a call that allows you to send in a blob of OpenSCAD code, and it will return an OpenSCAD render of it. So you have an OpenSCAD engine built on top of the Slant 3D API. That's kind of fun. We're excited to see what kind of apps people build on top of that because now you have file generation and file quoting and printing inside of there. It was something really easy to do. We've been messing with it for a few different systems. We pulled it over from our Conjure app. But yeah, you can generate OpenSCAD models inside of the Slant 3D API now. So if you're making enclosures or even cookie cutters or even lithophanes, there's an engine now that can take that. Let's see here. The API, we updated some of the other calls a little bit, made them a little bit more robust and cleaned up some of the data, so it's simplified down. I was building some apps with it over the weekend, so the guys got some feedback. Right now, as far as all services and stuff throughout the company, processing times are holding. We're still in that. Most orders are still going out in under 3 days. Many of them still going out in under 2 days. We're still sitting pretty comfortably in that 1 to 2 day zone. And that's holding, should be fine. Should be going through. Obviously, we have Black Friday. Black Friday happened. Black Friday is to happen right at the moment while we're filming this, but has happened by the time you're watching this on Sunday. Black Friday, we are teed up for that. We should be good on capacity. Everything else is fine. So everything is looking good. So orders should be processing in time. Short of orders with like large number of parts in them, so like 5+ parts inside of an order, will go on like the latter half of that processing time. But if it's a single part knocked out, whatever it was, it goes super fast. Okay, processing times are holding. Inside of Teleport, we added an affiliate button for Teleport itself. The affiliate announcement is on the website. So on the blog, if you want to sign up to become an affiliate, you can sign up over there and we'll get you a code. The affiliate program pays $10 for any sign up of using your affiliate code. So that is open and available to pretty much anybody. We're being pretty generous with allowing new affiliates on. Well, yeah, we're being pretty generous with most new folks who want to be affiliates. So those codes will be going out. Some folks have been invited already. But yeah, the affiliate program is live, which is really useful because we've been working with a bunch of influencers and different people who have been really liking Teleport. And they're just like, it'd be so great if you had an affiliate program. And we're like, we're trying to. And we finally got it done in this format. We're working to expand and build that more, but like it's coming along. We ran into another like unlock on Teleport here in the last week or so. So that will start to bear fruit over the next few weeks or so. You guys will start seeing those updates pretty soon. Any problems that we've been dealing with? No problems. The one thing that like came up is like if you're using PETG for parts and pieces, make sure that they're functional parts and pieces. PETG, we print PETG at like high temps in order to make sure that interlayer adhesion is as strong as it can be. The problem with that is that you can sometimes end up with parts that don't look as good because if you print at those high temperatures, it starts to mess with appearance and like supported areas. So just make sure that you're designing your parts really well. Go through like the checklist of things to design the parts as, and that fixes that issue. But PETG is designed for functional parts. It's not designed for cosmetic. If you're looking for cosmetic, go ahead and go for like the PLA parts. Just kind of a good of the order because we saw a few of those going by here this last week. Oh, inside of Teleport, we also added more third-party parts, so there are more screws going in. And we released white PETG. So white PETG is now available inside of Teleport and Portals, I believe. So if you've been holding off on needing to do functional white parts, you now can do that. White is miserable and probably going to be a tad more expensive because it stains, it has problems, all the rest of it. Don't make the bed facing side the customer facing side. That's the silly thing to do because the bed facing side always has the most occurrence of errors on it. So just avoid that. Okay, updates on Tangled. Last week we released, a few days ago we released some glut filament. So if you want to go get some of that leftover glut filament, it's sitting in Tangled. It might be sold out by now, and I apologize for that, guys. But like we may be out of that extra stuff. Glut filament is stuff left over from production jobs. So like we might custom batch some yellow, and then we spool it down and sell off whatever's left over after the production job is done. So there's some of that stuff, and then yeah, all these other sort of things. We also, again, did a price reduction on non-member black PLA. So that was an update there. We got some efficiencies over there from historical data. So Tangled filament's a little bit cheaper if you're not a member. If you are a member, it's $10. So I kind of recommend that. But yeah, it's all looking good. Okay. On Tangled, the machinery that we were using for auto spooling has been delayed. Like it's been very difficult working with this company. But yeah, anyhow, moving with that. Okay, let's check chat, see what the questions are that everybody has. Morning, everyone. What's the best way to apply a surface texture to a model for portals, since we don't have access to the slicer? The best way of doing it is you can use Formlabs has a tool that you can apply a texture to that is a height map. You can also apply a texture inside of Blender. If you're a Blender user, there's some easy ways of doing that. There were a couple of videos posted on our subreddit, 3D Print Entrepreneurs, where people went through different ways of applying textures in CAD as well. Formlabs Preform is the software that applies the texture to the STL. So that's the one to do with that. Did you hear rumors that DJI is investing in Elegoo to fight? Yep, went through that. Is the white PETG as strong as the black? Yeah, the white PETG is as strong as the black. Okay, and that should do that. Well, that's quick questions. The chat is lagging like the actual stream or so. It took like 20 minutes before the chat or the live stream started going out on YouTube. It was kind of weird. But okay. So, those are quick questions there that just popped up in the last couple seconds. So we got those covered. All right. This week, guys, we have a fun guest. We were working with this client over the last couple weeks or so, but it was a fun conversation and it's been a fun project because it is Gyraline. And Gyraline has created a way for doing tire alignments with a 3D printed housing and an iPhone. And Sam is the founder. This is the interview with Sam. Sam is a brilliant engineer. And also just a lot of fun. If you haven't I recommend wandering over to their YouTube channel and watching their podcast because they're just fun to watch. So Gyroline is the interview. They have made a 3D printed part more precise than $100,000 assembly inside of a normal auto shop. And they did it because they're gearheads and they wanted this device. So Sam decided to build this device. And it was a fun conversation because it's a very typical sort of journey of creating a product, convincing people that it's actually that good, all the rest of it. There were a lot of parallels to things that we do, but it was it was fun talking to Sam, and I hope you guys enjoy this interview. Have a great day, everybody. So how did you guys get started? What is the backstory of how this whole thing got rolling?
Yeah, so Gyroline was born out of a need. I am a longtime car guy. I started working on my 1995 Volkswagen Cabrio when I was 16, and I could do everything on it. I had the little the Bentley manual, which meant I was the king of cars because I had the Bentley manual. Right? I could do engine swaps. I could rewire everything. I could, probably resolder the entire ECU if I wanted to.
Right.
But there's just one thing that none of us could ever do, and it was a wheel alignment. And there's tricks and ways that you can kind of do it. You can put strings around the car, and they do actually work. It's just it takes so long to set something up, and then after you take it down and put it back up, if you're not perfect, it's going to be different. And so there was nothing universal. You'd have to build a box for that particular car. It's whenever you're doing race car alignments, generally you'll have a system of strings that bolts onto the actual chassis, and those work really good for specific cars. Mm-hmm. But we can't do that type of thing. It has to be done in the garage, and we have limited time. And I also want to try a lot of different alignments, over and over again, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so setting the car to factory specification doesn't necessarily work for us. We want to try what a little bit less toe-in does, what some more camber does, or we want to try a different caster setting, and we want to do it
out there on the fly in the time.
And instant gratification, right? I want it now. I want to be able to change it, go feel the car, and I'm it's 2025. All right, I'm tired of doing this long setup time. I'm ready to drive, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what Gyroline was born from. Is during my my mechanical engineering studies, I kind of had this idea that maybe you could, because of the way that gyroscopes work, it was possible. Mm-hmm. It might have been, right? And right. I sort of just sat on the idea, wasn't really going to do anything with it, and then one day we were let's try it. because it like after my third or fourth failed alignment at like, you know, the best shop ever, right? We got lifetime alignments at a big name shop, right? I can't name any names. And every time that you take it in, all they want to do is tow and go, right? And you know, because you're a lifetime customer, they're not really getting billed, so they're just like, get it out of here. And every time the wheel was off, or they didn't touch camber, because of course they're not going to touch camber, or because the car's modified, now my lifetime warranty is void, right? Gotcha. So we're like, okay, everybody's scamming us. And the cherry on top was, one day we decided to take the same car to 3 different shops in the same chain and get their free alignment check.
Right.
And all 3 of those shops wanted to sell us an alignment for completely different numbers. They were all off. Like, the car had a bad alignment, but one was like this, one was like this, and one was like that. And we were like, oh, like, actually this entire industry is disgusting, right?
And all of that machinery is like hundreds of thousands of dollars in there too, or just, well, tens of thousands of dollars in order to have it integrated into the shop and everything else too. But it's still not functioning as well as they would like to. Well, how far were they off? By like how many like degrees and that kind of stuff?
They were off from each other by about 0.5 degrees.
Wow.
Which is a serious amount when you're talking about tow.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I like, while I was trying to characterize Gyroline's accuracy, we had to find a machine that actually worked. I tried the dealership that I, you know, like, had connections with, and we tried 3 back-to-back readings with their machine, and like, they were stunned that their machine was not giving the same readings. Like, the car didn't move. We just took the sensors off and put them back on. And then they were like, oh, you know, sorry, right? And so I had to find a specific machine that had been freshly calibrated. Yeah. The guy who was running it knew what he was doing, and he let me do it, right? Because all it takes is like a tiny little slip on like modern camera-based equipment, and there, you know, like, all of the numbers are off, because like, when a 1/10 of a degree matters, like, all it takes is the garage door opens and the sun comes in and it scatters the light a little bit. So we did it at night on a brand new car, and we finally got something where if you took it off and put it back on, it was off by like 0.05, maybe like 0.1 degrees, right?
So it was literally just environmental factors. It wasn't that the machine was going out of calibration. It's just that the world was so messy that these versions of the machines can't work out.
I mean, I think the first 10 measurements that I've had like other people do of the cars, I think a lot of it was actually like the technician just accidentally like slipping something. I know a lot of shops are because it takes so long to set the car up on the alignment machine, it's their job to make sure that the car needs an alignment. So they really don't want the numbers to all be green. So it's like, you know, I'm not going to say that anybody's like,
there's a bad incentive structure.
It's very apparent, right? Like, if you take the same car to like 5 different shops, you're just going to see it, and you're going to be like, all right, you know, like, I also wouldn't trust the guy selling me tires to sell me an alignment. I don't know.
That's fair. This is fair. Okay, so you guys see this and you're running through it all. It's been a problem for a while. You go and you start working on the Gyroline. Was the phone always the solution for that, or did you guys look at other mechanisms beforehand? Because it was interesting. When I ran into your guys' thing, I was kind of surprised that the phone sensors were accurate enough to be able to do this to the degree that you guys are trying to hit. But what was like the sequence of development of the Gyroline?
Yeah, it actually did start with a standalone device, but the initial startup costs of doing something like that is much higher, and it's also harder to get people to want to buy something that costs like, you know, $300 or $400, because you have to have all of the sensors and like all of the like regulations and stuff. And it's much more challenging too, right?
Sure.
Like getting a standalone device to communicate properly with a phone, it's hard. And when I started it, it was just me. It was me and a laptop, right? Um,
When
and
was
so
this? When was the first bit of work on it?
yeah, so in 2023, I quit my engineering job without any backup plans. Um, I just said, well, I really want to do this, so I'm just going to stop and just do this.
Yeah.
Dropped everything, and at first, I worked on standalone unit, and it just seemed like I could get faster adoption if I could make the phone sensors work, and because then it's just an app and
Sure.
a little toolkit, so the entry is so much easier. People don't have to give you money before you show them that you're real, right? So like the way that Gyroline is now is it's an iPhone. Like you can download it on iOS and you can try it for free, right? And so you can like see if your table is aligned with whatever, like a chair, and it's not going to be accurate like on cars until you get the actual tool, because of the way that like side to side has to be perfectly like within a certain tolerance range, but you can prove to yourself that, hey, like this technology actually works. It gets 0 every time if I put it against a wall, like, and so that alone helped us move faster with like initial market adoption, and then it also it's just easier to scale in something that feels more like an app than it is to try to make people buy a product. And also, like, I could not afford inventory, right? I was very fresh to it, and had maybe like 20 grand of savings.
That's better than a lot of people end up with starting the whole thing. So, but when you have the interesting problem, because you have this cold start problem though too, of like, okay, no product, nobody's ever seen this thing before. You're making an iPhone app. There's plenty of iPhone apps out there. There's still like suspicion attached to iPhone apps, especially for something like this. How'd you get over that first hump? Obviously, you're in the community, so you get to kind of go to shows and show it off to people. But was that how it kind of took off? Or what was the way of getting people to actually buy the product when the time came?
So we're actually not over it yet. It is, we are still in a position where people cannot believe that it works. Mm-hmm. So we actually just got back from SEMA, where we brought one of the drift cars from Josh Stewart. We're sponsoring him. He's awesome. So he only uses Gyraline now. Nice. They threw all of their like toe plates away. They're like, Gyraline works in 20 seconds, right? If you hit a wall, you can instantly fix the car. No more like 20-minute setup times. So we brought Josh's car, and we brought a suspension from a Miata, and we just set it up on jacks, right? And we just said, like, do an alignment with your iPhone and come over here and I'll show you how to do it, right? And it's like people are just like walking by, they're like, no, that's stupid, it doesn't work. And you're like, no, it does. Like, we're at SEMA, right? Like, it works. And they're like, okay, let me see. And they're so excited to like be like, that's wrong. And then you show them, they're just like, and then I'm like, adjust the car, right? I got the tools out there. I'm like, adjust the toe for me. And he's like, I'll like turn around. I like turned around and like closed my eyes. I was like, adjust it, because he thinks I'm over here like with snake oil. I got some math in the background, and he does it, and I go back, and he's just like, oh, well, like, how much is this? And then he's like, okay, well, I'm buying it right now. And like, like, it's just absurd once people realize that, like, it's not just some like shady, scammy Chinese company. It's like, it's actually a group of guys who were like so sick of the scammy world of wheel alignments that we were like, no, there's a better way. Like, every single enthusiast, every person with a car that has tires on it is sold. They're like, it's like the first check pays for itself, right? It
Right.
doesn't even really matter how much it is. Like you hit a pothole, like your friend hits a pothole, you can fix their car, or at least tell them whether it's good or not, right? Like the peace of
Right.
mind alone is worth like, you know, hundreds, if not thousands. And so like we're still not to the point where we're getting widespread adoption, but it's definitely ramping up really, really fast. So it's a really exciting time.
That's fantastic. It's cool when you hit that product market fit to where like it's good. As soon as people see it, yes, their eyes light up, and now you just have to get enough people to see it that their eyes light up enough.
Yeah.
That's how did you meet your partner? How do you guys know each other?
So Richard, my COO, he is my best friend from long ago. So we're like middle school friends, and we had been working on cars together, just like, mostly doing separate stuff, and then like a lot of times I would just end up hanging out there, and we're like welding something together, we're trying something, we're like we mega squirted our cars together, which is like this like standalone computer, right? Like boosted them. Like he has a Ford Ranger, like an 80s Ford Ranger. I have I had that 90s Volkswagen, and
Oh, really?
every engine that you could think would end up in those cars ended up in them with a turbo, and then blew up. Like it got a cool engine, and then the engine got a turbo, and then it blew up, and that was just the cycle, right? And so we're just helping each other out, like ruining each other financially. Like, oh, it could go faster. It could definitely go fast. Like, well,
Yeah.
what about 20 psi, right? It's just like it's the same old story, right? I'm like, I see this all the time too. Like, I just want to be fast, right? We're just being silly.
Oh, that's hilarious. So how did you get him convinced to come in on Gyroline with you when you're still trying to get people to believe it and all the rest of it?
Well, he was actually already working on like a really cool project of his own, where he was like making these like GPS speed chimes, and like we were both like we both quit our jobs actually like at the same time to start businesses because it seemed more fun. And then once Gyroline had gained like a little bit of traction, I showed it to him, and like he was just like, this is a really big idea, and he knew that I needed help, and I knew that I needed help. So I mean, it wasn't hard to convince him, because like we were best friends and we were constantly talking, and I was just like, I need help, save me, because I can't do this part of it, I can do this part. And he was really excited to join in, right?
What were those parts? Have you guys split yourselves as like the typical like engineer and operator kind of roles, or how have you guys divvied up the work to where?
Yeah. The way that we decided to do it was, I think it's pretty common. You have like the visionary and then like the executor, and so like I'm fairly good at like forcing something that doesn't exist to now exist. And Richard's really good at like making sure that everything that now exists always goes out at the right time, right? Because if you put me in charge of like the railroad, all of the trains will never show up, because I've become very distraught about pressing the buttons.
That's fair.
And I'm like, I would like to start a new train, or like I would like the trains to fly, and everybody would be very upset and the company would die, right? But Richard's really good at making sure that like the trains are showing up, right? And so that packaging is done correctly and customers are actually happy, and then I'm just trying to make the next thing that's like, this is going to be so cool, and I just can't do it without him and without the rest of the team, because the team has now grown to support both of us, because we're just insanely busy.
Yeah, that's fair. No, it's awesome that you guys have that complementary relationship, because you're right. It is like kind of the typical like founding team, but it's like the recommended founding team, because that's exactly what you want. There's somebody out there in the weeds dragging everybody along kind of technologically, and then somebody making sure that, yes, everybody shows up, gets paid, and that things go out the door and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's just really useful, because when you're going through the hard phases of it all, having a complementary person who you get shared energy from a co-founder and all the rest of it. So it's a lot more fun that way. Um, Sick. So how did you? You guys are 3D printing, kind of the main accessory for it. How did you guys come to using 3D printing rather than going for like a mold or traditional manufacturing or machining it out of a block of aluminum? You guys are working in cars, so if it was a big old silver really piece of aluminum, I imagine people would like that quite a bit. But like, how? Why printing?
Yeah, so when we were first getting started, I mean, it really came down to just startup costs and the the flexibility that 3D printing allows. The very first GyroLiner that ever sold, I actually still talk to the guy. Um, it was more of like a little cradle that your phone just kind of rested in,
Mm-hmm.
and it was printed out of PLA. So like if it saw any temperature outside of like room
Yeah, that's tough
temperature,
down
it
in San
was
Antonio.
over. Yeah. So I quickly stopped using PLA after the summer showed up, and one of them was just like melted onto my seat. I was like, oh, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
Um, but really, like the design of the actual tool was constantly iterating, and we're now finally to a point where we're like, okay, this is what works, and like we're ready to start injection molding stuff. But there are some things concerned with like the accuracy of the tool that 3D printing just allows the alignment measurements to be really, really accurate because of like the nub design. Like there's some like very intricate sections of it that don't seem intricate at first, but then if you like zoom in on it, you're like, oh, like that's kind of how the magic's actually working, is like that profile looks like this. Because there's also a part of Gyroline where you can index the car's body panels,
Right.
or windows, which allows you to actually get like a straight vector and solve thrust angle before you actually like do, the conventional rear axle to front axle alignment, so that your car's not driving crooked, obviously.
Right.
And like the nub design is kind of like that's all a part of it. So that's kind of why we started with 3D printing. But
So
we do actually. Let me see. 1 second. We just dropped the second generation of the tool, and that is CNC
oh,
aluminum.
sick.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
So
great.
this one actually has sensors built into it, and then we have an aluminum version and a Delrin CNC version.
Nice. Oh, very nice. Okay, yeah, that makes sense now. Because I'm like, yeah, just your style of like 3D printing still has kind of a stigma attached to it. It's not really justified anymore,
Yeah.
but that stigma is still there, and people are going to hold it and be like, yeah, it's 3D printed or something. That aluminum
Yeah.
piece helps that.
It does.
It is a silly argument because yes, it doesn't apply anymore. 3D printed parts are fine, but people still have that.
They also cost like they cost much more to make, right? So like it costs much more to 3D print stuff than it does to get the injection mold. The injection molded parts are like 20 cents. The 3D printed ones are like $2 or $3.
Oh, of like your
And then
existing
with
design?
labor, oh yeah. Like with labor, it ends up costing like, it could be up to like $15 depending on how many people are like working the farm and how efficiently everything's running.
Yes.
There are some pretty big startup costs to it.
This is fair. There's generally a lot of labor attached to 3D printed parts, though I'm going to be a little bit of a stickler and say that most of the time that's generally due to like the design of the part. Because like there's the design for the DFAM that you have to do, the design for additive manufacturing that you have to do in order to make sure that the part is useful. So like a thing that we would generally do is like go through how can this like be made ejectable so the machines can just run, and now you're just running material through a hot nozzle as fast as you can go, and there's not people involved with it. But like that's it's a long engineering process, just like designing for a mold and that kind of thing. And it's also weird because there's some parts that don't fall into it to where it becomes expensive. But the thing we always say is like back in 2021. We had our average job size become more affordable than molding up to about 100,000 on average. That's across all parts. So there's still the outlier parts and the smaller ones and so on and so forth. But it always kind of depends on that base design. And you guys have a weird one because you kind of have a large part, which is generally the size of a fist is like the best size for mass production printing. If you start going bigger than that, then it starts breaking down. And you
Yeah.
guys are kind of in that weird zone. But
Yeah.
if you're doing is molding still one of the options when you're machining it and that kind of thing? Or are you guys, what is like the triage between printing, molding, CNC?
Yeah, it's so we do want to do molding. It really has to do with like these side profiles,
Right.
and then like how to actually get a tool that looks like it and serves its purpose.
Is it draft angles? Are the draft angles jacking with all
Draft
this?
angles are definitely a big challenge. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's funky. So, so then what's like the triage between 3D and CNC?
Oh man, I don't know. Like what comes in between them?
What makes one better than the other at any given situation?
Oh yeah. So I think there's like some complicated clamping mechanisms that could be easier to 3D print, right? So like on our 3D printed one, we have like a side screw that comes in the side of the tool, and it's like we'd have to redesign the actual clamping mechanism because for the first generation that uses your actual phone, the phone has to be perfectly parallel with the tool.
Right.
So getting it to like side clamp snugly, like it's hard with CNC because like doing the side cut starts to like add cost, right?
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, and I know there's a way, right? Like we could probably put one of those like the like nut inserts and just like do like a little side hole, and instead of making it like this complicated cutout, because like currently ours has like like that the little hex cutout on the side for an insertable nut. Like there probably is like a really slick way to do it. But
yeah,
I know whenever we were first quoting injection molding, like getting those side features was like was very substantial, because it's like
that new pin coming in from the side really jacks
it's gotta
with everything.
punch that out. It really makes it.
It really messes with stuff when you do that on a mold. They're like, oh, you want to slightly change the angle of anything other than just right here? Okay, we're gonna get you for that one.
Yeah.
But so you guys have been doing this since 2023 then. So you've come quite a ways then. You've evolved a bunch of time. How long were you already, was the design light done and you'd already seen people's eyes light up and that kind of stuff when you started in 2023? Or did you just be like, I got to fix alignment, you start that in 2023 and then the GyroLiner comes from that? Or what was the sequence of quit the job, GyroLiner shows up and is like available?
Yeah, I actually went into it with no, like, I did not really think that it could be done. Like we didn't invent it until we actually started working on it. Nobody has tried this as far as I know. Like there was no design to reference. It was all fabricated, like from me at first, and then after I got the rest of the team on, we made it way better than my original design.
Nice.
So it was really just like I believed that it could be done, but I had no proof from anybody. Like no one had ever done it. Everybody thought that it was dumb. No, you can't get a wheel alignment with a phone. The compass is not accurate enough. And I was like, I'm not going to use the compass, right? like you're right. The compass is stupid. You can't put a compass against a wheel.
Yeah.
The metal alone. But I was like, there's another way. And then I was doing like a little bit of research, and still like people are just like, you can't get that level of like repeatability, and that's just the type of thing where people like me are like, all right, watch me, right?
Yeah.
And so then it's just out of being a butthead that I actually did it.
It's good when you have that motivation though, because like when you're just trying to show people up, it's a really good motivator when it starts getting a little bit dark and you get to one of the tough challenges, because you're just like, we'll figure something out, because I can't go back and say they were right, because that'd just kill me.
Yeah.
What within that, like what was the biggest challenge of making the thing work? Were the sensors accurate enough, or did you have to go through and do secondary filtering and that kind of stuff to make it reliable? Because the sensors are pretty good, but like,
Yeah.
where did it all land? What was one of the big wrinkles?
Yeah, what really was the hardest about the whole thing was that the stock filtering, in most cases is nowhere close, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of ways to just do it wrong. There's a lot of workflows that don't work, and there's some that really do. And so it was like my one of my very first ideas was I'm just going to use Android devices because they're so much easier to actually work with, right?
Yeah.
And then I found out how many different sensor sets are in those devices, and like it becomes a nightmare to make them all accurate. And we actually tried an Android beta where like, you know, we were using our best filtering that we had deemed was like universal enough, and on some people, like you know, we just said this might not work on all phones, try it first. And some people were like, okay, this gets within 0.02 degrees of my, you know, $60,000 rack, I'm blown away. And then the majority, or what sounds like the majority, because, you know, people who it doesn't work get very upset.
Yes.
They're like, this is junk. And I'm like, guys, you know, try it first.
Your
please.
2012 Android
like,
flip or something like
free.
that.
It's free to try. Yeah. There's like this weird looking phone comes back, and they're like, I got my old, you know, an Android phone that I haven't seen in like 6 years plus. I'm like, none of my friends have this. I'm like, why do you own that?
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, and I don't even recognize the name because there's too many letters that signify how pro it is, right? And
you just described like, Android devices as a whole.
Yeah. And it's like, well, no, it's the one with the fast ultra charge. And I'm like, dude, that's standard now, right? Like, this thing's got to be from 2015. And when you rotate it, it doesn't pick up rotation rate until a certain threshold is even reached.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, you can't align a car with it, right? No, that one. And so, like, at the end of the day, the Android store, I guess because we didn't clarify like expectations from the very beginning, it ended up getting like pretty bad reviews and some really good ones, right? Some people were like, this changed my life. And then like the other half were like 1 star, make this compatible with my phone. And I'm like, oh man, there was a disclaimer that said your device might. And the true tragedy though was that a lot of the newer devices, brand new devices, they were being shipped with sensors that were good enough for like playing playing an Android game.
Sure.
But they were. I was like, you know, like the sensor's just not up to doing a 0.05 degree wheel alignment on a car, right? Which that's not a big deal, but you know,
it is in this case.
It is, yeah. It's kind
of is.
Okay, this is a scam. And so, yeah, that was one of the original, like, hugest issues is how do we make this, how do we make a user able to get their phone, put it in the tool, and do a wheel alignment on a car? Like just that idea alone is a little bit absurd, right? Like, I'm gonna make an app to where a random person with like some skill level in cars can do an alignment with their phone. So like the initial interface was also a huge challenge. It was more of like a swinging bar with a live readout, and you could zero it out. But other than that, it showed no wheels. It didn't show anything. But so it was more so for very, very early adopters, and people did still like it.
Right.
But yeah.
This is like the wild challenge that people don't realize with like launching a product, because any product launch always goes wrong in some kind of a way because it never makes everybody happy. We all we all have kind of like this vision of like we're going to do the Apple announcement and a million people will beat our path to our door. But when you're starting up, you don't know what you don't know, so you're discovering that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, a whole bunch of people have freaking old Android phones that won't possibly work on that. When we're working on it, it's like, no, obviously, well, people will have that, but you
Yeah.
don't. You think people. You give more credit to the customer than the customer. Not that they deserve more credit, but like they're not going to work that hard. People are lazier than you anticipate, so they're not going to double check that it doesn't work with their phone. They're just going to blame you for it not working on their phone.
Yeah.
But that's part of like product development, and you get used to it, and you're like, okay, here's the lowest common denominator. But also just the launch sequence of like, okay, turn it loose to everybody so everybody can try it is actually really kind of dangerous because it seems like the right thing to do to get as much information back as you can and to find out what people think of it. But like you just said, the negative voices are so loud that they can kill you right off the start if you're not really like controlled about it. Anymore with like the things that we do, we pretty much always do like a pre-order, like a sign up beforehand, and we kind of filter people beforehand and say like, oh no, this guy has the right phone in your case, or the right setup, or knows what he's doing, or there was some kind of questionnaire to where the release goes better because you know kind of the right genre of people have it. You're still getting good feedback because everybody will whine about everything, but you don't have that kind of what am I trying to say? Just it's not just out in the wild to where anybody can get a hold of it and say it's not working on my flip phone and ruin your life because your thought is like they used it wrong, which is correct, but everybody else just sees 2 stars or something down at the bottom of the reviews, and the next customer again doesn't do all the context and everything else of like, no, it's fine. And it's funny also that like you guys picked Android because it was just easier to develop on, right? Because you could push the app without having to go through all of Apple's shenanigans and that kind of thing. Was that or just ease of development?
Yeah, it just seemed like the right platform too. Just because of like
openness,
the universality of it.
Okay.
And we like initially kind of assumed that it was going to be easier to get a lot of data really fast, and that it was going to be more of like a free for all compared to Apple's like more so lockdown ecosystem.
Yeah.
But what we found was that using Apple devices allowed us to constrain our algorithms to like a very much lower amount of sensors to actually like characterize, right? So it made it much more accurate, and we were able to get extreme accuracy with them, and like really just because of that fact alone, that the control on sensor set is tighter. It's so much easier to give people something that works every single time.
Yes.
Because yes, the negative voices are the loudest. Like even if your product is 95% right, and those 5% of people are going to be 50% of the voice.
Yes.
So the idea was like we really wanted the initial Android version to work great, and it did not. And so we actually took it off the store because people kept trying it, and we made it explicitly clear it was like, this is a beta. Like, do not buy the tool yet. Do not, like, please don't give me money yet. Go prove to yourself I love this. It works. It gets 0 every time I go back to my table. And alas, like the excitement of being able to do the alignment with your phone, I think just makes people buy it instantly. Yes. It lands, and then they're like, "No, it doesn't work." What? 0 stars, right?
That's true. It does like give you an intention of like how much market is out there when you get it right, because you get to see how many downloads are coming from it from just throwing it out there. Why not just like make the phone a part of the product there in those first days, and just go grab the Android phone that you like, and then send the box and the device out the door or something, and show that off at shows?
Yeah, that type of thing. It for some reason made people even more mad,
Really?
because they already have a phone, right? And so we got a significant amount of comments that was like, charging extra for an iPhone in a case is egregious, and we're like, all right, and it's also really hard to get like the economies of scale to work out when you're trying to get the lowest price phone possible, right?
That's fair.
And then you want to make a price with a new product that nobody thinks works, that is fair for the company. And it's like, what's the price going to be? Well, it's probably going to be like $500 at least, because now we're going to have people with broken screens coming back. Hey, my GyroLine has a broken screen. I ran it over, or and that stuff just hits me in the heart, and I give a free replacement. So it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Oh no. Dropped it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting, because you guys have a technical audience but a technical audience who recognizes that the phone should work inside of the thing, has an expectation of technology, but at the same time has the disconnect that from what you guys know of, like, it used to be tens of thousands of dollars for an alignment rig that you couldn't get a hold of and was wrong anyway, and now we made it a phone in a box, but everybody's like, phone in a box, and that's still not good enough, because now you have to go for their phone in the box or in the situation. So it's great that you guys got it going, because like you guys have all the problems of like every startup and all that has ever started running, and you have the hardware and the software problems too, of getting it manufactured and dealing with App Store shenanigans and all the rest of these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
When did it finally kind of gel to how far were you in when you were like, okay, now we kind of got it, it's rolling, it's a thing? When did that confidence kind of start to hit?
I think that was early this year, or like I think last Black Friday we ran like a very brief Black Friday sale, and like we were just absolutely, like, our jaws dropped with the amount of volume. Like, we had never seen that type of like order volume, and like the print farm was backed up for weeks, and we were just like and it wasn't like a tremendous amount of orders. It was just like 500 orders suddenly, and we were like, oh my gosh, and that was for a tiny amount of ad spend, and it was like, okay, like we had finally hit some sort of critical mass on like the reviews that we got. We had started playing our like take Android off cards, right? Only sell iPhone stuff, and just like some of those like creatives, I guess, just like really hit, and suddenly people were resonating with it and buying it. And at that point we were like, all right, we need to go all in. We need to hire more people. And it's just one of those things that's tough as a fresh startup, right? It's like, okay, I need 20 more people on my team. But
start interviewing people for 7 hours out of your day. It's a lot of fun.
And it's like last month we were making $0. This month we're making much more dollars. Like, how many people can I actually? It's just business stuff, right? It's like, how many people can I safely hire?
Yes. Is it a spike? Is it a moment? Is it continuous and sustainable? All those kind of uncertainties within it all. But it seems to be working. So congratulations, you made it over the chasm. But so what's next now? So you guys got the GyroLine. You're evolving the design a little bit. Obviously, you're an idea guy. You probably got 20 other things that you want to start messing around with. What are the 20 other things that you want to start messing around with one of these days?
Oh man, I want to make flying cars.
Nice.
As far as it's a little bit different. It's gonna lose a lot more money than this does.
Like, for real? Do you want to build flying cars, or you just say that as like the joke?
No, seriously.
Yeah. How would you do it? Do you think airplane is transferable, ducted fans, or some other direction of it all? How would you tweak one of the, or would you say, oh, it's a plane that we're going to call a flying car and rent to Uber, or like legit flying car? And why is a flying car better than just a helicopter? Because if you're flying, why are you driving ever? All those things.
Yeah, so the way that I would go about it is like first and foremost, the current technology just like it can't do it, right? Like
Technology
everything
as
that we
far as like electric propulsion or gas propulsion, or which one of those?
I think both of them,
Really?
right? Like everything right now on the market is too loud or it uses
Okay.
too much energy.
Okay.
And so I have no idea how I would make it happen. I just know that like it would take something that no one's seen. Um,
Okay. So you're going
my
really fundamental with it, of like just
yeah,
new.
I'd have to go back to fundamentals.
Yeah.
There's very little way, and the technology that we have right now is like pretty hard to actually get control systems on. So like I mean, Elon Musk is like trying to land rockets, and half of them are like like it's
Well,
so hard to
they're
make
landed
every
pretty reliably right now. In
they're
fairness.
good. They're yeah, like it's good, but it's you know the technology is hard to control. So
Yeah.
I would go all the way back and start over. Um, but you know,
What would you start? Would you do at the very basic principles and that kind of stuff? Would you go for a reactive thing like a rocket, or would you go for a aerodynamic solution that's propellers and fans and that kind of stuff? What suits your fancy right at the moment?
at the moment, it would be something about the way that energy moves in this universe that
Okay,
like
you're going all
like
the way to
I
dark
would
matter and zero G
I
and that
would
kind of stuff.
just ditch everything that we've ever done and just say like incompatible,
Okay,
and just like start over and I don't know. I would look for something that could reverse entropy. I don't know.
that's
Um,
fair. That's fair. Okay, so you got to go right to the gravity well that we're sitting in
you
and
have to,
just be like,
you
how
have
do
to
we
go back.
put a little bump here?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Otherwise, like if we don't do that, then it feels like we'd be using humanity's resources in a very like it takes so much more energy to actually like use mass to hover
Yes.
that it would feel like the first world countries would probably start using 90%, or we probably already do, but we'd start using 99% of all the energy just so that we can have more convenience, at the cost of like it would be tremendous energy expenditure. So I would go back to energy fundamentalism.
You have a really interesting perspective on it for a car guy down in San Antonio. What?
Oh, I get made fun of all the time because I'm a catalytic converter guy.
Uh huh.
I think that part of the build is specing a catalytic converter and making sure that your emissions control systems are all like working incredibly well. I want the car to go fast,
Yeah.
but I want like if it takes a truck catalytic converter on your VW, then so be it,
Uh huh.
right? But I actually worked in an emissions lab for 2 years. I was doing engineering there, so
Okay.
I learned everything about like what this stuff is doing to the population, and we're killing people.
Yes.
Like it's very obvious too. Like the data is very clear that PM in high concentrations, which comes out of cars that are running incorrectly and unburned hydrocarbons. The catalytic converter these days is 99.8% efficient
Mm-hmm.
at converting unburned fuel and stuff into just water and like carbon dioxide. So by operating the car without it, you're effectively polluting like 500 to 1,000 cars worth of pollution, and the person behind you's life expectancy and chance of cancer is rising,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all for like this idea of fun, and it's
Yeah.
like that's bad, right? I was
Right.
like, once I realized that, I was like, I put the cats, I found cats for the car. I bought new cats and I retuned the ECU to run stoichiometric. I was like, that's really bad. um, and that actually goes to wheel alignments, because electric cars are kind of coming in
Yeah.
and taking over, and they don't have a lot of emissions at all. It's all
Sure.
like static factories, which can be controlled decently. But what they do have is extreme PM emissions from the tires, and that's that PM stands for particulate matter.
Yep.
For those who don't know, and that's actually like that's a world crisis right now that the European Union mostly has stepped into, and they're trying to control it with like, by catching it from the exhaust. But what we're missing is that about half of it's coming from the tires,
Right.
and tires that are out of alignment produce like 80% more, if not more than that, right? So by keeping the cars at OEM alignments, we can actually decrease PM like across the board.
Right.
So that also draws me in to it.
Okay, so the alignment is 80% of it, but don't tires effectively need a full redesign because we're driving these sedans that now weigh 1,000 pounds more because the freaking battery's sitting in the bottom of them? Isn't that more of an engineering problem than like trying to make tires work on this new architecture?
That is a really good point, because the current technology has. I mean, like honestly, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think that we designed it with the particulate matter in mind, right? I think that it was originally designed as like, okay, we need reliability, we need to get people to work, otherwise the economy can't function, right? And so let's first get it where we can deliver the crop so that everybody doesn't starve, and then now we're kind of like at the phase where we can start thinking about it. And I would agree that starting from zero, with the actual tire makeup would be a really smart way. And then in the meantime, before that, just make sure everything's aligned and aired up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing how much just good calibration improves so much of all of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you want to go into flying cars. Is there an in-between product here after the GyroLiner? But go from GyroLiner, flying car. Yeah. What's the roadmap?
Yeah, I don't know. It just depends on a lot of things, right? I do have like this insane idea bank of like things I want to invent. So, I might end up doing that.
That's fair.
If GyroLine, if I'm no
it
longer
continues
working,
rolling.
Yeah. Then I might jump, but it all depends. Like, if someone funds the flying car thing, I'll do the flying car thing. That is what I want to do next. Flying car thing.
For reals?
Yeah.
So what's the break in reality though that you need? Because you're going for fundamental science on this one, which is a real tough development roadmap when you got to invent fusion for the core thing to run. How would you start piecing it down?
Oh man, I think at this point I've learned that I would hire a team.
That's fair.
And then I would retreat into a cave with them and just think about it for a couple years.
That's fair. The investors don't like that pitch. I gotta.
They don't. And I certainly didn't like that when I started GyroLine. I was like, step one is waste money on a computer or invest money on a computer.
Yeah.
And then like retreat for a couple months and build it, right?
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm just losing money, and you're just like, you just got to think that it's gonna work. And just be like, I'm just going to stop. I'm just not going to stop until it works.
Didn't you have a better nugget than that? Surely before you started, didn't you like check like what the accuracy of a smartphone gyroscope and everything else was to see if it was technically feasible to get it into where it was? Because if they were doing it in freaking 5-degree increments, you knew, okay, that hardware just will never be able to do this. Or did you go into it totally blind and then just say, I'll clean up the mess if I find it there?
I didn't go in completely blind because I did already, like, I started with some Arduino stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, I definitely quit my job and then started proving it. I knew it could be done. Right? I did some like preliminary like investigation where it was like, okay, some devices are this accurate, but nobody thought that an iPhone gyroscope was or could be made to be, right? Like there did exist devices that cost like $10,000. It's like a little chip, that did claim, yes, I am this, I am, you know, to
Yeah.
this accuracy. So yeah, that type of information did like make me think, okay, it maybe there's a chance, but generally, I mean, like, I just kind of, you know, I don't know, I just went for it.
That's fair. Well, that's the mark of a good engineer, just having the intuition that can actually be done. Because yeah, all of it's moving. It is amazing. Like the smartphones in general still have not been fully unlocked because everybody still
Yeah.
kind of thinks of them as like the first generation when they were released, but nobody realizes we make 1 billion of these things a year. We just made lasers cost 2 cents, and yes, the
Yeah.
gyroscopes cost nothing, and all the rest of it. Just that scale has made this technology so good, but it's still in like that default state because we're monkeys beat rocks together, and we're like, no, it's still rocks beat together. And we're like, nah, it's about as good as it could possibly be, just because
Yeah.
there's so much money in it and so many of them made.